Ciao, I'm Mario, a Swiss car guy on YouTube, and today I'm driving my 1989 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. And yes, this is an actual Trans Am. I know the car has Firebird taillights, but this is normal for a Europe spec car because this was not a parallel import car. This car was sold by General Motors Europe here in Switzerland, and in order for the car to be homologated back then here in Switzerland, it needed to have amber turn signals in the rear, and this car has them. The Firebird taillights have the amber turn signals, whereas the Trans Am headlights don't, for some reason that only General Motors from the 80s knows. Anyway, the Trans Am, a car I have been driving quite a lot recently, and I have been doing some work to it. Because if you remember, I bought the car, I believe, in October last year, and in October it was quite cold. And this year it started to get warm quite late, I think in the beginning of June. And at that point, of course, I realized I had bought another car with non-working air conditioning. Great. And this is a bit of a problem because my plan was to use this car as my daily driver. And I cannot really have a daily driver without air conditioning because when it's hot, I'm dying, and I just can't have that, especially on motorway journeys where you cannot keep the windows down. I mean, you could, but you're gonna get deaf. But in this case, I cannot really use this car as much as I wanted, because my goal was it to have the Firebird as my everyday car and then have the Cadillac for, occasional driving. Yes, I still have that Cadillac, but if I don't have at least one car with air conditioning, I cannot do it, because my idea was to leave the Lexus at my mom's place, which is like 100 kilometers away from here, and then have just the Firebird and the Cadillac here. But this didn't really work out. So I needed to fix the air conditioning. I put a set of gauges to the air conditioning and to the low pressure side, and it had still 50 psi, which means the system was not empty, but it was obviously not full enough for the compressor to engage and to work. I also tested whether the compressor clutch was working and the compressor would engage by shorting the pressure sensor, and it worked. So the system just needs a recharge, and that's a bit of a problem with this car. And you might say, why is it a problem with this car? Well, this car's from 1989, and the air conditioning system is designed to work with the old type bad for the environment, ozone depleting refrigerant R12. And as far as I can see, this car has never been converted to R134A, the later, more common refrigerant. This means that most garages will not be able to service this air conditioning system, because even if they had the proper connections, they usually don't want to mix R12 with their R134A machines and stuff. So you basically need to find a garage that is specialized in these older cars and has the machines for it and an alternative refrigerant, because R12 has been forbidden here in Switzerland, I think, for about 20 years or so. So there are new drop-in replacements like, I think, R437A. And I even found a garage here somewhat locally that has it. But I mean, it's a bit of a hassle to go there, make appointments, and it's far, and then I have to wait. And I didn't really like that option because I'm way too lazy. It wouldn't have been that expensive. I think a refill would have been like $250, which is not little, but it's better than spending thousands on conversions or stuff like that. No, I went the cheap route, and so I bought a can of, I think it's called HC12, which is a drop-in refrigerant that can mix with R12, can mix with R134A. So it's actually kind of perfect for my air conditioning system, because I don't really know if it still contains R12 or if it has been converted and then they replaced the connections. And since I don't know what exactly I have inside of my air conditioning, I thought I'd go with that because it mixes with everything. And yes, the proper route would have been to evacuate the whole thing and refill it with use a proper refrigerant. But then again, that would have meant going to a garage, making appointments, and who knows how long that is going to take, because I mean, it's summer, it's warm, and I think even their services might be in high demand. So no, I ordered that can of HC12, which basically, as far as I understand, is a mix of propane and butane, isobutane, whatever. Basically the same stuff you use for your barbecue, just in a much purer form, because the barbecue stuff, it contains paraffin and stuff, so that will really gunk up your air conditioning system, and this is like specially designed as a refrigerant. But you might see a problem with that because it's flammable. Yes, it's basically I'm powering my air conditioning with barbecue gas. Yes, this is flammable, which is a downside and potentially illegal. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it might not be 100% legal. But the thing is, it should work well. And also, given it has a much higher density, I believe, than R12, you don't need as much of it. You only need a third of the weight of the R12. So this car takes about 1 kilo of R12, and in this case, to fill it completely, you would need about 340 grams of this HC12. And of course, the HC12, I had to order it from France, because it's not like in America where you can just go to the auto parts store and buy a can of Duracool, which is basically the same thing. No. In Switzerland, you have to look for a lot, and then you don't find it in Switzerland, then you have to buy it abroad. So it turned out quite expensive, because I think the whole can I bought a big can, I think it cost me about $150, because it was like 110 plus I think some shipping, some import duties. Yeah, it made it expensive. Oh, what is this guy doing? Good. So that made it relatively expensive. Mind you, it's still cheaper than the $250 plus that you would spend for a professional servicing. Yeah, it wasn't cheap, but I think it was the better solution because it was fast. It was something I could do quite quickly, even though I wasn't completely sure whether it would work. So yes, I attempted to refill it myself using an old kitchen scale and a set of a manifold for air conditioning systems, which I also bought. But I bought this especially actually for the Cadillac, because I still plan on putting air conditioning back into that car, so I need air conditioning equipment. In fact, I didn't only buy a manifold, I also bought a vacuum pump, which I didn't need, or I don't need for this car because I'm not going to evacuate it. But if I build a new air conditioning system into the Cadillac, I will need to, put a vacuum to it, see if it's tight, if there's any losses or anything. So I will be using that maybe later on, or maybe I'll never use it anyway. So I put everything in and I started adding the refrigerant, and I added a bit by bit because you don't want to overfill the system. And the way I did it is a heck job. Really, it is a heck job. So you want to be kind of careful with how much you add, because I also didn't hook up my gauges to the high pressure side. And it's obviously not because I didn't have them, because I obviously have the gauges if you watch the video. And actually in this video I managed to keep them out of frame, which is very professional. But I have the gauges, but I choose not to hook it up to the high pressure side, because the high pressure side valve might leak if it's disturbed. And since for just a refill, I think it's okay to just go with the low pressure side, I didn't even hook it up, because if I did hook it up and then that valve started leaking, then I'd be screwed, because first off, all the refrigerant would leak out, and I think my air conditioning system still contains R12, which is very bad for the ozone layer. But also that means that then I would have to get that repaired and then filled completely. And in that moment, you might just as well do it properly, evacuate the whole system, and then add the proper amount. So so I didn't hook it up at all. I didn't want to disturb it, and I started filling it. And I first thought that I would have to bridge the pressure sensor, so the AC compressor would turn on initially, but I saw that adding that initial bit of refrigerant, just opening the valve, already raised the pressure enough for the AC compressor to start working, and then it slowly started sucking it in, and it took quite a while. And at first it didn't do anything, and I was a bit concerned, but then I realized it just is very slow, because it was losing like 5 grams at the time between checking. And I then went inside, I checked with my little thermometer that I have here the outlet's temperatures, and I have to say it started working a bit after a time, and this is when I realized I had to add more refrigerant. And also the compressor would cycle the clutch, it would turn on, would turn off, it would turn on, it would turn off, and that for me was a sign that it still wasn't enough refrigerant. So I added more until the compressor clutch stayed on for longer periods, and then I basically called it a day. I then went inside the car, I checked it, I even did the proper factory manual check with 2000 RPM and air conditioning to max and everything. And once the outlet temperature started to match what the manual said, because it depends on humidity, on temperature, I basically stopped and it was good. And right now I am enjoying some actually slightly too cold air conditioning, because I got an outlet temperature of 9 degrees right now, and it's probably I need to set it a bit higher, because it's quite chilly. But it's the first time since I own this car that I have air conditioning in it, and it's actually right now it's working very well. But it's morning, I'm driving to work, so it's not very hot outside. So obviously, I mean, how hot is it? It's warm. It's certainly warmer than in the car. So that's the air conditioning for now, I think, sorted out. I will have to observe it a bit further, because I did the whole refill yesterday evening, and I've just done a little quick test drive, and now I will have to see whether it leaks out again. But I think it might not, because my air conditioning system, it wasn't fully empty. It was like half empty, because I added about 160 grams of the HC12, which is the equivalent of about 450, 500 grams of R12, which means it was half empty, because the total capacity is like 1 kilo and 40 grams. And the fact that it wasn't completely empty means it cannot have a big leak or of sorts. Maybe now that the compressor starts working again, it develops new leaks, but it is working so far. The HC12 is supposed to have larger molecules, and therefore it should have less losses and should be more likely to stay in. So we will see about that. But right now, I think my air conditioning is working quite well, and I like that. So that's one thing that I could say is fixed for the moment, which is very good. And a thing that I managed to fix something. Hooray! Of course, you've seen in the previous video, I redid the headliner. I'm very satisfied with this. It looks very, very snazzy, and being Alcantara, it's like nice to touch. So the headliner, I'm very happy with that. I didn't redo the sun visors, because they are quite okay, even though the gray doesn't match exactly. I mean, this car interior is kind of a mix and match of different shades of gray. So I think it's okay. I'll leave it like this. And that's another job done. The Android radio that I put into the car, it works fine. I have no problems with that. And I still have, I have a problem with the steering wheel. I have the fake Momo steering wheel that I bought on AliExpress. I put the hub on it, so now it has enough time to be screwed on, and it also gives me a bit less reach, or it makes it closer, making it for a more comfortable driving position. It's actually more like the original steering wheel, because that was deeper as well. So I kind of like this, but the steering wheel, of course, it has to go. It has to be replaced by the proper steering wheel that I still have to get remade somehow, somewhere. And yeah, that's okay, and that works for me, even though it's a bit, it's flimsy, it's a cheap steering wheel. But the thing that still doesn't work is the horn. And the horn doesn't work for, very obvious reasons, because first I haven't hooked it up, so it's not hooked up under here, it's not hooked up in the engine bay. And the reason for that is very simple, and that is the car would randomly honk the horn, especially when I use the indicators. And I'm a person who uses the indicators quite a lot. So having the car honk the horn every time I use the indicator, especially I think on right turns, that's not okay, and that cannot work. So I still need to fix that. I think I will need to take the entire steering wheel away, the hub, and then see about the cam for the indicator. I think there might be a short or something in there. So that's something I still have to do, and that's something I have to do reasonably soon, because at some point this car will have to get MOT. It will have its periodic control, and it won't pass that without a working horn. And I think it also won't pass it with a randomly honking horn. So I need to fix that, and and when I do it, I can also fix the cam so that I can lock the wire for the steering wheel in, because there's a little tab that broke off, so the wires will not really hold. So that's something I will have to do. Another issue I need to fix rather sooner than later is the fact that the car sometimes doesn't start. I mentioned in one of the previous videos, and I think it has to do with the anti-theft system, the VATS, the VATS, which I think is some sort of an immobilizer, basically. And what it does is that it basically sends a signal to the ECU that the injectors may fire, and also it sends a signal to a relay that the starter can be started, engaged. And okay, and in my case it sometimes doesn't work. I hear a noise from down here in the footrest area when it doesn't start, and which sounds like a sticking relay. So I reckon there is the starter enable relay, which might just lock up and prevent the car from starting. So I will either replace that relay or bypass it, because I don't really need an immobilizer in this old car, because if somebody wants to steal it, I mean, go ahead, be my guest. And I will have to do this because I've been in a situation where I couldn't start the car, and it's amplified when it's warm. So now it's really warm, so yeah, this might be a problem. Therefore, I started leaving the windows down when I let the car in a place where I know it's going to be warm, because that way the interior won't heat up that much, and I have a good chance of the car starting. What else is there with the car? The power antenna still doesn't work, but I haven't done anything to make it work, so yeah, it didn't magically fix itself. That's a bit disappointing, and I will look into that at some time, but since I don't listen to the radio, it doesn't really interest me. I actually haven't even hooked the radio up to the car, the antenna, because I didn't have the proper connector, and I mean, I don't care, I don't listen to the radio. When I redid my headliner, I added a layer of aluminium butyl on the roof, between the roof and the headliner, in order to make the car a bit quieter, maybe just because it's best practice. But I had a few people comment whether it worked, whether I noticed a difference, and to be honest, I don't. I mean, maybe it worked, but I don't have the direct comparison, so I can just tell right now the car feels actually reasonably quiet, so I think it may have done something. But I also think that when I did the headliner, the fact that I took all the trim off and replaced all the clips, put in all new clips, fastened the trim properly, removed the stupid screws that the previous owner had put in randomly, I think that also helped making the car a bit less rattly. I mean, it's still rattly, but it's a bit less now. And that also already helps make the car feel a bit less noisy. Or maybe I'm just getting used to the noises. But maybe the aluminium butyl on the roof maybe did something, maybe it did not. But the thing is, it cost almost nothing to do. It was a small step in doing the whole thing. So this is really a job that while you're in there, you should do, because it took me maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and material cost, because I bought the super expensive aluminum butyl because I didn't want to wait like a week. So material cost I think was probably about $30 or something like that. If you bought cheaper aluminum butyl, it could be down to like 15 or $10 or something like that. So yeah, I would do it again. Honestly, I would do it again, because it certainly hasn't been worse than before, but whether it's really better, I don't know. Oh, now it's getting warm. Let's see if my AC can cope. Oh, the air is still nice and cold. I love it when things as basic as cold air conditioning can make me so happy. But really, having working AC is so good, because I've been using this car a lot as a daily driver. My Lexus has seen very little use recently, and now that it has air conditioning, I can use it even more. And that means I can park the Lexus at my mom's place and get the Cadillac back here to Zurich. So the Cadillac, at some point, I think this weekend, I'll take it back, and then I will have two old American cars as my daily drivers, so to say. And this car, even though it works quite well, the air conditioning is nice and cold, it's still not without issues. I still have a few things I need to sort out, the ones I mentioned, but also the position light and the indicator in the front left, I think they don't work. They don't have no power at all. I have to sort that out also, because it's not good. I like people to see when I'm indicating. And also this window doesn't seal properly, so there's a lot of wind noise. And worst of all, I took the car to the car wash, and man, car wash water is really, really cold. And I got completely soaked. I tried to keep the car from getting all wet, but that was really, really hard and basically very futile, because it got super wet. And even I got wet down to my underwear, so I had to change completely once I got home. And then I used my extractor machine to get the liquid, the humidity, the water out of the seats and out of the carpet. So that wasn't funny, but fortunately it's only this window, and I don't think it's the seal, because the seal is all right, but the window needs adjusting. It's not sealing properly. It doesn't close enough. There's like a gap of, I think if I push hard, like 3-4 millimeters. And when it rains, it's not an issue, but when you're in a car wash, which, yes, I know you shouldn't put the car through the car wash, but anyway, it just pours in. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I have to sort that out, but to do that I have to take the door cards off, because there are like adjusting screws and everything. And in order to do that, I don't know, I mean, I don't want to drive around without door cards. I did it on my old Mercedes back then, but I might only do this in the winter, so because I want to take these door cards off anyway and kind of refurbish them a bit. Like, there are some loose bits, glue it together, make it a bit nicer. And yeah, I might just do that. Otherwise, I actually have really enjoyed driving the car. And even though I spent a week with my Lexus when I went to Italy a couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, when I go back, I cannot drive the Trans Am anymore, because that car is so harsh and uncomfortable. But no, it's actually perfectly fine, and I've been driving it a lot, and I've been enjoying it a lot. The fuel economy is terrible. Like in city driving, like I do now, it does like 20-25 liters in 100 kilometers, which means the 58 liter tank only lasts for 230 kilometers, which is pathetic. I absolutely hate that, but I mean, it's what it is. So yeah, I never expected a 5 liter V8, especially an old American one, to be economical, but I have to say the fuel economy in stop and go traffic, in driving around town, is really, really bad. If you go on the motorway or with longer motorway journeys, like when I go visit my mom and stuff like that, then the fuel economy actually starts becoming quite okay, with like 14 liters in 100 kilometers, maybe even lower than that. But as soon as you have a lot of stop and go traffic, a lot of city traffic, it tanks. And that means that you have no range, because right now I have 175 kilometers since my last fuel up, and that looks like I have only a quarter of a tank left, which, yeah, as a daily driver is a bit annoying, but I mean, it's just fuel. Whatever. yeah, this is it. I still really enjoy this car. I never thought I would enjoy it this much. I'm having fun. I'm doing sort of a lot of work on it, but it's not that hard to work on. And also, you know, being an old American car where always the notion is American cars, terrible interiors, this is actually quite a nice interior. I mean, it's plastic, but it feels all right. It's a bit rattly, yes, but otherwise I kind of like it. But I also found out that this is the deluxe interior, because obviously there is one that's not as nice as this. Whatever, but I'm enjoying this car. I plan on driving it a lot more, and I will update you on the car in the future if new developments happen, and I will most likely also film the odd jobs that I do around the car. But I think I blabbed on enough on this video, so I just want to thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this car, more of the Cadillac, more of me. And consider following me on Instagram, where I really occasionally, and by occasionally I mean like every 2 weeks or so, I post a picture or so, maybe more often. But for example, my adventure in the car wash was posted live from within the car wash last week. So yeah, follow me on Instagram at Swiss Car Guy Mario, and otherwise this is it. Subscribe to the channel, comment down below what do you think of the car and of my work, and yeah, like this video, subscribe, like, recommended, whatever. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.